How tough is the job of a bus driver in South Korea? They have to leave home for work before dawn. Yet their monthly salary is only about 3 million won, at 3:54 a.m., when most people are still asleep. Aing, 48 years old, has to wake up to start her workday. She is currently a bus driver and is in charge of the first trip of the day, so waking up at this time has become a habit. After changing into her uniform and quickly brushing her teeth, she quickly leaves home for work. She commutes to work on her personal motorcycle, even though it's a freezing winter with temperatures dropping to 0 degrees Celsius. At this time, no public transportation is operating. A short while later, she arrives at the company, and the bright lights in the office are enough to know that there are other drivers who arrived even earlier than her. Before driving, she had to go through all the procedures, such as checking her blood alcohol level to confirm her health condition and whether she was fit to drive. Then clocking and using her fingerprint, and finally finding the vehicle she was in charge of in the parking lot. According to regulations, all drivers must thoroughly check their vehicles before departure. But because she hadn't had time for breakfast, she put away her personal belongings and went to the company canteen for a free breakfast. The meal was quite substantial and varied. After eating, she returned to check the important parts of the vehicle, cleaned the interior thoroughly, and completed all preparations to drive to the departure point. At 5:18 a.m., she arrived at the first stop. Taking advantage of a lunch break before driving, she only rested briefly in the restroom because, as she gets older, she needs to take a short nap. It's very difficult to complete an entire shift, but a few minutes later she puts on the microphone, fastens her seatbelt, and starts her journey on time. She has been doing this job for 24 years now. Although the hard work doesn't match the income, which is only about 3 million won per month, the job is quite stable and has good benefits, suitable for a woman who has to support her family like her. Now, she no longer focuses too much on salary and bonuses, but only hopes that each trip takes passengers to their destination safely and that she herself can return home safely. In recent months, she was assigned to the morning shift, so she had to wake up very early. No matter how tired she was, she couldn't refuse, because as an employee, she had to accept all decisions from her superiors. Moreover, her son's university tuition and mortgage payments still depended on her meager salary to maintain their lives. Therefore, despite the pressure, she could only try her best to work until the end. After driving continuously for 2 hours, she was given a mandatory break, only checking the car to see if any passengers had left anything behind, then quickly eating something, and resting for about 10 minutes before returning to the wheel. Every day, her working hours usually lasted more than 8 hours. By the time she finished all the trips, it was almost noon. But that didn't mean she could leave. Besides driving, she was also responsible for cleaning the car. Every day before going home, she has to clean the car thoroughly, inside and out. Even the wheels must be cleaned so that the next driver can use it in the best condition. After cleaning the driver's seat, her workday officially ends. That's a typical workday for a bus driver in South Korea. A Japanese couple chose a carefree lifestyle, not buying a house or working, living in their car without any financial pressure. Do you know how free and comfortable their day is? At 9 a.m., because they exercised too much the night before, the 28-year-old man and his wife woke up. Since neither of them has a fixed job, they just drive around traveling every day, so they can sleep in as late as they want. After waking up, the couple tidied up their bed and went to bed. They used a nearby public restroom to relieve themselves, then returned to the car to prepare breakfast. Because of the limited space, their meal was quite simple, just a few slices of bread this morning. At 10 a.m., they drove to a quiet cafe to work, as it had been a week since they last earned money. If they were lazy today, they might soon run out of money for food. 2 years ago, they felt life was too boring, so they decided to quit their jobs, move into their car, and begin a nomadic, free lifestyle, without a structured job or the pressure of going wherever they, of course, to ensure their livelihood. They still earned money, but not full-time. Their monthly income was about 320,000 yen, equivalent to what one person would have earned previously, but, in return, they had absolute freedom and no constraints. For them, wealth is no longer the goal of life. Maintaining a comfortable life requires the least amount of effort, while the rest of their time is dedicated to eating, having fun, and enjoying themselves. At 5:50 p.m., after finishing work, they leave the cafe to buy ingredients for dinner. It's noteworthy that their current lifestyle is very relaxed. They spend most of their time enjoying life. Although their income is significantly lower than before, they don't worry because they don't have to bear the burden of expensive rent. Furthermore, with a good income, they can save a small amount, making life easy and joyful. After buying food, the two look for a place to shower. In Japan, there are many places that offer this service, such as internet cafes, for just 300 yen. A half-hour internet package includes 15 minutes of free showering inside. are also provided. Hair dryers, shampoo, and body wash. After showering, they found a free parking spot by the roadside and returned to their van to enjoy the evening. The first thing they did was roll up the curtains to create some privacy. Then, they retrieved pots, pans, and dishes from under the bed, set up a makeshift dining table, and began cooking dinner. Their meal was still quick and easy. They simply heated up the pre-prepared ingredients they'd bought and, finally, added a bowl of miso soup for a simple yet satisfying meal. Both were very happy with their current life in the van. They got to enjoy different views each day. The cost of living was low, and they could still earn money to cover their expenses, a win-win situation. They had also agreed that they wouldn't buy a house in this van in the future. With no more pressure from the future. After dinner, the couple tidies up their bed and uses a projector to watch movies. When they feel sleepy, they go to bed. That's a typical day for a Japanese couple. They don't own a house, and the woman has a low income in Japan, earning only 2,000 yen a month. Every night after work, she can only return alone to her small rented room. Do you know how lonely her nightlife can be? At 7 p.m., Yuri Akimizu, 26 years old, has just finished work and returned home. She is currently an ordinary office worker in Tokyo. But her monthly salary is only 200,000 yen, equivalent to about 32 million Vietnamese dongs. After deducting rent, utilities, and other living expenses, there's hardly anything left over. Moreover, Yuri is still single, so her life is quite secluded. With few social relationships, every night after work, she returns to her rented apartment. The first thing Yuri did was take off her jewelry and wash her hands thoroughly. Although her current job was just an office worker, the workload was quite heavy, and she had to deal with complex office relationships, leaving her feeling exhausted after a long day. Therefore, when she got home, she usually soaked in the bathtub to relax, relieve fatigue, and wash away worries. While bathing, Yuri would turn on the yellow duck-shaped lamp to create a pleasant atmosphere, listening to music and enjoying the quiet time just for herself. According to Yuri, whether at work or in her daily life, she didn't like interacting too much with others, and preferred to work alone in a quiet space. Even when the company organized group activities, she would often find reasons to decline. The people Yuri talked to each day were only a few colleagues she was forced to interact with for work. On her days off, she enjoys eating delicious food or strolling along the beach, trying to avoid unnecessary social interactions. After about half an hour soaking in the bathtub, Yuri emerges and begins her evening skincare routine. Although she no longer has high expectations or romantic feelings, she still pays close attention to her appearance. Current short hairstyle also reflects her increased indifference to relationships. During her university years, Yuri had long hair and a 4-year relationship. However, shortly after graduation, they broke up, leaving her devastated for months, almost unable to live normally. After recovering, Yuri decided to cut off her long hair, seeing it as a way to end the past and start a new life. After taking care of her skin and drying her hair, the clock struck 8 p.m. Yuri began preparing dinner. As a girl living alone, she usually cooked for herself to save money and ensure hygiene. Soon, a simple bowl of spicy noodles with egg and oatmeal was ready. Although it didn't look particularly appealing, Yuri loved this dish. Because the cost of living and rent in Tokyo were very expensive, with her current income, Yuri could only afford a small apartment in the suburbs with 1 bedroom, a living room, kitchen, and dining area. Even though she had to spend most of her income on rent, she didn't mind because she didn't have many social needs. Just living comfortably was enough. After dinner, Yuri, lying on the sofa, scrolling through her phone and enjoying her private time, she candidly shared that she really enjoys her current single life. As for dating again, she would think more carefully about it, understanding that past failures have taught her the need to be more independent and mature. Notably, every evening Yuri writes in her diary to record the day's events, helping her to better understand her own life. Time flies to 9:30 p.m. when Yuri washes the dishes and cups, dries them, and sterilizes them immediately. Then she neatly folds her clothes and at 10 p.m. goes to bed to read for a while before falling asleep. A typical nightlife for a low-income girl in Japan.